Welcome to Financial News in Review for Friday, June 7th, 2024, your go-to source for concise summaries of the top financial interview shows. We cut through the noise to bring you the key highlights, saving you valuable time each day. In this video, we will be providing important takeaways and insights for the following videos. From Kitco News, we have Bitcoin will be shadow central bank when fiat fails. It'll be overnight. Bill Barhydt. From Kitco News, we have government spending and Fed policy, an unsustainable path. David Nelson. From Kitco News, we have gold and silver poised for price spike, but pullback expected. Jeffrey Christian. From David Lynn, we have Bitcoin to $700, expect Fed rate cuts by fall. Anthony Scaramucci. Summary of Bitcoin will be shadow central bank. When fiat fails, it'll be overnight. In this interview, Kitco News hosts Bill Barhydt, the founder and CEO of Abra, who discusses Bitcoin's future role as a shadow central bank and its impact on global finance, providing in-depth insights and analysis. The core thesis of the interview is the notion that Bitcoin is poised to become a key player in the global financial system, potentially functioning as a shadow central bank when traditional fiat currencies face significant crises. Bill Barhydt argues that Bitcoin's fixed supply and decentralized nature make it an ideal hedge against fiat currency problems, supported by thoughtful commentary and evidence. Key points discussed by Bill Barhydt include 1. Bitcoin as a shadow central bank. Bill Barhydt elaborates on how Bitcoin could assume the role of a shadow central bank due to its decentralized nature and fixed supply. He compares Bitcoin to gold and discusses how the limitations and issues of fiat currencies lead to the necessity of an alternative like Bitcoin. 2. Challenges of fiat money. Barhydt discusses the inherent problems with fiat currencies, such as the US dollar, emphasizing the unsustainable debt and devaluation issues. He explains how governmental policies and the compounding effect of devaluation have steadily eroded the value of the dollar since the early 1970s. 3. Potential path for Bitcoin adoption. Bill Barhydt provides a scenario where systemic failures in the traditional banking system could drive adoption of Bitcoin. He explains how rising interest rates, bank failures, and loss of confidence in fiat currencies could propel both individuals and governments to turn to Bitcoin as a stable asset. 4. The role of stablecoins. He discusses the impact of stablecoins, noting how they are contributing to the stabilization of interest rates by backing them with US dollars. This trend helps extend the relevance of the US dollar while providing a bridge to more widespread crypto adoption. Bill Barhydt also makes several key predictions, such as 1. Failure of multiple fiat currencies. He predicts that 50 to 75 non-dollar or non-euro-backed currencies could fail in the next 25 years due to their inability to compete with the dollar and manage their own debt sustainably. 2. Bitcoin and other assets in national reserves. Barhydt foresees that countries, especially those facing currency crises, will start adding Bitcoin to their reserves alongside or in place of traditional commodities like gold. In conclusion, Bill Barhydt summarizes his insights by encouraging viewers to consider the fundamental problems with fiat currencies and to understand the potential of Bitcoin as a future central asset in global finance. He emphasizes the importance of recognizing Bitcoin's unique attributes that make it a strong alternative to traditional monetary systems and calls for a prudent assessment of Bitcoin's long-term value as a decentralized digital asset. Summary of government spending and Fed policy, an unsustainable path. David Nelson. In this interview, Kitco News hosts David Nelson, who discusses government spending and Federal Reserve policy, providing in-depth insights and analysis. The core thesis of the interview is that the current path of government spending and the Federal Reserve's policy are unsustainable. David Nelson argues that higher interest rates are not effectively addressing inflation and suggests a more innovative approach to monetary policy, supported by thoughtful commentary and evidence. Key points discussed by David Nelson include 1. Conflicting economic indicators. Nelson elaborates on the confusing nature of recent job market data, highlighting discrepancies between different reports and raising questions about the accuracy and reliability of the data. 2. Impact of high rates on inflation. Nelson discusses how higher interest rates may actually be contributing to inflation, particularly by increasing interest expenses for consumers. He uses examples from other economic analysts to illustrate this argument. 3. Cutting interest rates. Nelson covers the necessity of cutting interest rates to ease inflation and stimulate the housing market. He provides additional context by discussing the significant cash reserves of major corporations and the challenges faced by smaller businesses with adjustable rate credits. 4. Government spending. Nelson talks about sustained high government spending and its impact on the Federal Reserve's monetary policies. He points out that government spending is crowding out the real economy and counteracting the Fed's attempts to drain liquidity from the system. David Nelson also makes several key predictions, such as 1. Rate cuts. Nelson predicts that the Federal Reserve may need to cut interest rates by 50 basis points over the course of the year to address inflation effectively. 2. Housing market impact. He predicts that rate cuts would help clear housing inventory, thereby reducing shelter inflation. In conclusion, David Nelson summarizes his insights by emphasizing that the current path of government spending and Fed policy is unsustainable. He encourages viewers to consider a more coordinated approach between fiscal and monetary policies, stressing the importance of innovative solutions to address economic challenges. Summary of gold and silver poised for price spike, but pullback expected, Jeffrey Christian. In this interview, Kitco News hosts Jeffrey Christian, who discusses the outlook for gold and silver prices amid global economic shifts, providing in-depth insights and analysis. The core thesis of the interview is the expectation of a potential price spike in gold and silver, followed by a pullback. Jeffrey Christian argues that current economic indicators and central bank policies suggest an initial rise in precious metal prices, supported by thoughtful commentary and evidence. Key points discussed by Jeffrey Christian include 1. Impact of central bank policies. Details. Christian elaborates on how recent interest rate cuts by the European Central Bank and the Bank of Canada indicate economic weakening. Evidence. He references past trends and current economic data to highlight the implications for gold and silver prices. 2. Predictive economic conditions. Details. He discusses the expectations of economic deterioration in the US, Europe, Canada, and Japan over the next year. Evidence. Notable quotes include the forecast of increased weaknesses and the stabilization of high interest rates until significant economic downturns are observed. 3. Investor behavior and market dynamics. Details. Christian covers the role of investors and their influence on the precious metals market. Evidence. He uses examples of how both gold and silver markets are seeing mixed investor activity, with both increased buying and selling based on market conditions. 4. Sector-specific insights. Details. Jeffrey Christian delves into the industrial demand for silver, particularly in solar power versus its role as a monetary asset. Evidence. He provides intricate details about market conditions affecting silver, such as oversupply in solar panel production and how this impacts silver demand and prices. Jeffrey Christian also makes several key predictions, such as Prediction 1, short-term price movements in gold, expecting slight weakness followed by potential gains as geopolitical and economic uncertainties unfold. Implications. This suggests strategic buying opportunities for investors once a clear upward trend is identified. 2. Prediction 2, the long-term outlook of silver possibly reaching near record levels due to tight supply and demand balance. Implications. Investors might consider maintaining or increasing their silver holdings to capitalize on expected future price spikes. In conclusion, Jeffrey Christian summarizes his insights by emphasizing that while there might be immediate fluctuations, the long-term outlook for gold and silver remains strong due to economic and political uncertainties. He encourages viewers to stay informed and consider the broader economic indicators when making investment decisions. Christian stresses the importance of understanding market dynamics and historical trends to make informed choices in precious metal investments. Summary of Bitcoin to $700. Expect Fed rate cuts by fall, Anthony Scaramucci. In this interview, David Lynn hosts Anthony Scaramucci, who discusses Bitcoin's future and economic predictions, providing in-depth insights and analysis. The core thesis of the interview is the potential of Bitcoin to see significant value increases and expected monetary policy changes. Scaramucci argues that Bitcoin could 10x in value over the next 15 years, supported by thoughtful commentary and evidence. Key points discussed by Scaramucci include Bitcoin's growth and potential. Scaramucci elaborates on Bitcoin's unique properties as a store of value and its potential to reach $500,000, using adoption trends and comparison to gold's market cap to illustrate his argument. He also discusses the likelihood of successive rate cuts by the Federal Reserve starting in August. Scaramucci supports this with current inflation trends and market conditions. Technological tracking and market correlation. Additionally, Scaramucci covers the current correlation between Bitcoin and major tech stocks like Nvidia and Amazon, with additional context about the technological maturity of Bitcoin. Political influence on economic policies. Further, Scaramucci delves into the potential impact of the upcoming election on fiscal policies, focusing on Trump's and Biden's approaches. Scaramucci also makes several key predictions, such as Bitcoin reaching $700. Predicated on continued adoption and technological properties, he believes Bitcoin could reach $700. Fed rate cuts. He anticipates successive rate cuts by the Fed, starting in August, to mitigate economic slowdown and manage U.S. debt. In conclusion, Scaramucci summarizes his insights by highlighting the resilience and potential of Bitcoin. He encourages viewers to consider the transformative impact of digital assets and emphasizes the importance of understanding and adapting to financial innovations. Scaramucci also touches on topics like media evolution, international geopolitics involving Russia, and his personal journey into cryptocurrency investment, providing a comprehensive and well-rounded perspective throughout the interview. Thanks for watching Financial News in Review for Friday, June 7th, 2024. If you'd like more time-saving content, please remember to like and subscribe. If you have ideas for more channels you'd like to see, drop a comment below. See you next time.